Yesterday brought us the return of the world's best cyclist to America's premier race. Early on, it was a new face, American Jason Donald, who set the tone. One cyclist after another, nobody could touch the surprise leader's record time. It came down to the last man out, Levi Leipheimer, the only man to ever win the prologue in San Francisco. His plan was to once again wear the leader's jersey heading into his hometown, Santa Rosa. Approaching the final 300 yards, his time was equal with the leader. Perhaps it was the experience of the seasoned pro as he crossed the line to win by little more than a second. He became the first to wear this year's yellow jersey. Stage 1 of the Tour of California begins today in Sausalito. That's next. It's goodbye now to the Bay Area of San Francisco as the riders head towards Santa Rosa and along the beautiful highway as they follow the Marin County route all the way to the finish today. Clear blue skies and the riders now ready to do battle on the open road. And welcome to our second day of coverage here of the Amgen Tour of California. The riders now going out on the open highway after yesterday's prologue time trial. Paul, yesterday a case of deja vu for Levi Leipheimer. He won also last year, and again he's coming home to Santa Rosa.
It really is uncanny because just 12 months ago he rode into the streets of Santa Rosa wearing that golden jersey, and I expect him to keep it this afternoon as well. Even though today the riders go over a fairly testing course, it is one of the most beautiful routes the riders have to offer in this part of the world. It should be a bunch sprint, and we're expecting a huge crowd again.
We are indeed. Well, yesterday we got off to a great start. 300,000 spectators in San Francisco. We expect to equal that today as the crowds come out here in Santa Rosa. And on President's Day, they couldn't choose a better day. Let's have a look at the overall situation after yesterday's prologue. Leipheimer leads by that single second over the superstar Jason Donald, and third place another American, Benjamin Jakes-Meyer. Some of the big stars didn't do so well. George Hincapie only ninth, losing a few seconds. Ben Day, the former Australian time trial champion, there in 10th. Of other notables, Zabriskie, who is also a good time trialist, he finished 14th. Tom Danielson 17th, and Bobby Julich, a former third place finish in the Tour de France, he was in 22nd place. Let's have a look where we go, courtesy of Garmin, with our stage map today. 97.1 miles. It's a beautiful route this. We run right up away on the Pacific Highway, and we turn in to see the beautiful redwood forest as well. Health Net move of the day yesterday, well, it came at the very end of 144 riders. We waited a long time, but in the end, Levi Leipheimer taking it by just over a second. That's our Health Net move of the day and our first leader of the race. Let's have a look now at some facts of the stage today as we head out of Sausalito. As I say, 97 miles. As we make our ride along the road, there'll be 3 sprints. Last year's winner was JJ Haido. He won in a big group sprint. Looking down at the start, 144 riders down there, and the riders moving away in beautiful conditions, Paul. They couldn't wish for better racing conditions.
They certainly couldn't. Absolutely superb weather conditions. Phil, I had to actually do a little bit of research overnight to find out about this young lad, Donald, who in fact finished second on the stage yesterday. You know, he actually, in his university career, was a very good runner. He ran a sub 4 minute 1500 meters and a sub 9 minute 3000 meters steeplechase. So basically, if you put that into perspective, he's got a very big engine.
Well, Jonathan Waters gave him the nod, manager of Team Slipstream, and invited him onto the squad, and he's already proved his worth. Now, there's a sight for sore eyes, but not for the riders as they face up now to 4 hours in the saddle, and as they go along, I think the sun is going to get warmer and warmer. There's the yellow jersey on the shoulders of Levi Leipheimer. As I say, a case of deja vu, as it was a year ago, as he heads home now to Santa Rosa.
He certainly wants to get there. A huge crowd will be waiting for him at the arrival, Phil, absolutely certain of that.
So he's got his Discovery Channel team around him. Remember, he's on a new team this year. Last year he went for the German setup, Gerolstein, and now he's come home to the United States. He rides on Lance Armstrong's team. Lance, of course, now retired, the Discovery Channel squad. But there's going to be a lot of racing on the road today. We've got 2 climbs along the way, and it starts pretty early on with the climb of Mount Tam, which takes us up to over 1,500 feet. So I think we can expect pressure to go on right from the gun. They're about to complete their neutralized circuits here of Sausalito, and then they'll be out on the open highway. We'll take a break. Well, the rides have left town now as they're heading up on stage 1 of the Amgen Tour of California. The field all together at the moment. These are the lower slopes of the long climb of Mount Tam, which will take them up to 1,512 feet. But we've left at the start line Bob Roll, who's now going to tell us the keys to the stage.
Stage number 1 of the Amgen Tour of California to Santa Rosa from Sausalito should be a very tough stage. There's a couple of hard climbs out on the race course. Very close between Levi Leipheimer and Jason Donald, just 1.5 seconds separating them, and there are some time sprints out on the course. Look for a pretty tough battle. Levi might want to give up the jersey for a couple of days. Last year the stage featured a field sprint that heralded J.J. Hayato as a big star of cycling, and this year we'll see another sprint royale to the finish line, and I think we're in for a very exciting stage today. The leader's jersey is up for grabs, and so is the stage in the Amgen Tour of California. Expect a fantastic day of racing.
That's right, Bob, and I tell you one thing, everybody's going to pay a great deal of attention to those early hotspot sprints, because 3 seconds, 2 seconds and 1 second for the first guy to go over the line, it's going to make it very important. That's why Levi Leipheimer is riding at the front end of the main field in around about 5th position, and that's why the blue, black and white jerseys of Team Discovery Channel, Phil, are controlling the peloton this early in the day.
And those of you who follow cycling will note that the Discovery Channel jerseys there, slightly different design this year, but they're all looking after Levi Leipheimer as he races towards his hometown of Santa Rosa today. They've got off to a very, very quick start, and I've caught sightings at the back of the race of the world champion, Paolo Bettini. Not the place to be on this climb. This is a pretty tough climb. It's a very fast climb as it snakes its way up to the top of Mount Tam. Points for the King of the Mountains when they go over the top. But at the moment, Paul, this is very much under the control of Discovery Channel.
Well, they are one of the top teams in the world, so that's not really a major surprise. And as it was 12 months ago, there is Levi Leipheimer in the golden fleece, wearing the jersey indicating he's the leader of the Amgen Tour of California this year. He looks very comfortable. These, Phil, let's not forget, are pretty much his training roads. He probably knows every bump on this road and certainly every curve.
Well, as we look out here to the world looking into these pictures, they'll see a most beautiful part of the world, especially the United States, as they snake now along the Pacific Highway. We'll shortly be in amongst the giant redwoods as the riders head up towards Santa Rosa. And it looks as though the Discovery boys are in serious mood. They want to keep Levi in that leader's yellow jersey and give him his moment of glory when he gets down to the finishing line. But it won't be easy for him, because of these small time bonuses at 3 points along the way, and of course a big time bonus of 10 seconds at the finish. So as the riders continue on the way, there are other beneficiaries in this race too, by the way, and the big one is breaking away from cancer, because that is the main beneficiary here. And there's the SMS number for you to text. Everybody wins here. You can enter as often as you like. The number to SMS is 66057. So come on, join in and put some money in the bank. Let's speak also to Patrick Dempsey. Yes, the star of Grey's Anatomy. He's the spokesman for this charity.
I've been a big fan for a number of years, and finally, I think through coming involved with the Breakaway from Cancer initiative, I felt it was important that I got on a bike. And the last 2 months, I've been cycling a lot, and I really enjoy it. It's a great sport, something you do with your family, and it's a great way to stay in shape.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, Patrick there has got a great bike. He paid $7,000 for it, so he'll soon be riding in the race here.
Well, he could very well be. He might well not enjoy it today, because today is a little bit lumpy for beginners, as we can see here, the riders on the first climb of the day. And still, look at the work being done here by Team Discovery Channel. This is an incredibly drilled squad. Last year, you may remember in the Amgen Tour of California, Levi Leipheimer was wearing a pale blue jersey. That was when he rode for Team Gerolsteiner. Here, Discovery Channel team is the team that he's come back to. He feels as if he's come home.
Well, just watching the riders go down the Pacific Highway. The road's, of course, completely closed here by the Highway Patrol. It's not the road to ride on, by the way, on a normal day out when the cars are on this road. It's a bit narrow, but for the bike riders today, it is just the most beautiful place to be. And it is the team here of Discovery Channel now. Although it is an American-sponsored team, there's not all Americans on it. We've got Australians, Danish riders and Italians making up this squad of 8 men. A little bit of a move here, and it looks as though it might be a quick-step rider from Belgium who's giving... No, it's a Crédit Agricole rider from France who's made the first move of the race.
Very difficult to see in the shaded part of the course, and that's why occasionally there's a little bit of picture breakup. We're going right through the redwood forest here as we start to warm up now to try and get ourselves sorted out for the first King of the Mountain points. As we've said, there are 2 King of the Mountain points on today's stage. Very important to get points early on.
Well, they've jumped on him straight away there, but they've got themselves a little gap. No big reaction from the field. This is going to fall pressure on Leipheimer again. Dutch rider on the front from Team Rabobank, and trying to get a little group moving away here. They're just over halfway up the climb now of the climb of Mount Tam. A little bit of a gap going clear. Looks like we might have 6 men forcing a gap as they start to move clear of the field. Prizes at the top, but more importantly, of course, a timed gap as they head now towards the finish in Santa Rosa. Still a long way to go. Levi's the man when we get down to the other end. We'll take a short break. See you in a moment. Well, we're just about 10 miles into today's stage of a massive 97. The breakaway's trying to hold off a battling field here and working pretty hard at the front there. Thomas Peterson, he's on the slipstream team of Donald, who is 2nd overall. There's the breakaway for you. Chris Horner, Paul, and he's the rider nearest camera here with the most to benefit from this, because he's only 14 seconds off the race lead. At the moment, he's the virtual leader on the road.
Well, very much like last year, Chris Horner was looking for moves like this, and I think that's going to be his tactic again throughout the event. He doesn't have a very strong team here at the Amgen Tour of California this year, so he'll look for a breakaway if he can, but you can see the chase here is actually causing a little bit of turbulence in the main field.
Well, they're coming back. They've tried to stretch it on the way up. They're on the way down the top of Mount Tam now. First over the top, by the way, was Jurgen van der Walle, who used to be on the Discovery Channel team, but he's here now on the Belgian Quick Step team. He got away first. They all jumped on him, but it looks as though the field is closing up. It's been quite a chase, this, because Bettini, I told you earlier, we saw him yo-yoing at the back, was in a back group, but he seems to have got back into that main pack.
I don't think Bettini, the world champion, the current world champion, is going to panic too much. He'll try and ride his legs in, I think, over the first couple of days. Probably shocked a little bit, Phil, by the aggressive nature of the acceleration on that first climb of the day.
Well, the most impressive team in these 2 days of racing, there they are, Slipstream. They've got 2 riders in the breakaway. They've got 2nd overall with that shock ride yesterday by Donald. They're really driving pretty well. But don't remember, cycling on Versus, well, Cyclism Sunday is back. Television's premier cycling show will return with a preview of the 2007 season, get an in-depth look at the top teams as well as the latest on Floyd Landis. Cyclism Sundays on Versus starts March 4 at 7. Well, we're going to be treated to these stunning views of the West Coast and the Pacific Highway all day today. I'm not sure there whether Chris Horner's smiling or grimacing, but he seems to be relishing the thought.
I think he's probably relishing the sunshine this afternoon. A little bit crisp at the moment, around about just tickling 60 degrees Fahrenheit. But Team Slipstream, they today, Phil, I think would like to pull this race back together by the time we get to the next sprint point, because there you can see the man who was such a revelation to all of us yesterday in the green jersey, 113, Jason Donald. They've actually pulled it all back together. The reason for that is they're thinking about the next hotspot sprint. There are 3 seconds available for the first rider to cross the line there. Jason Donald is living a dream, Phil. If he can get across the line in 1st or 2nd place, he will become the new leader of the race.
His little time bonus is the first sprint of the day. It comes at 28 miles today, Port Reyes. And a little bit of a shunt down there, right in the centre of the field. I don't know how many riders have come down, but most have been stopped by the crash. Amazingly, and that's Christian van der Velde who's down there, the American rider on Team CSC. Omar Kem is down, 144 to the left. Just the 2 riders, Paul. Amazing, because they crashed right in the front of the peloton.
Right at the front end of the main field. That's Christian van der Velde on the left-hand side. Serious, seasoned professional bike rider, checking his bike, making sure everything's okay, and then he's up and he'll be ready to ride in a couple of moments. The other rider who went down there as well was Omar Kem.
A little bit of a chat going on at the front now, all safe and sound. Team Discovery Channel and the race leader there, Levi Leipheimer, just a 1 second margin over the 2nd place rider, Jason Donald, at the moment, as he races home towards Santa Rosa. That's where he lives. We've already seen Jason McCarthy earlier on greet his family on the way out of Sausalito. So they're on the way as Tony Cruz is looking after him here on the right of our picture. The riders all back together again, and as they say, everything to play for. We'll see you in just a moment. The beauty of the Pacific Highway now as the riders all together here prepare to turn inland now as they're bound to the finish in Santa Rosa. All together as they now run down the Pacific Highway here on the west coast. Been a very active race, but it has been hampered a lot today by the headwind, and as they turn away now to the last short climb of the day to take them back up to over 800 feet. Once more, Paul, it's the Discovery Channel who've got the head of the race.
Well, they're a very seriously well-drilled professional team. They're climbing up here the Coleman Valley climb, a third category climb. You can always see the yellow jersey of Levi Leipheimer at the front. Everybody is back together in this group. But I have a feeling if you look at the wind there, Phil, it may well very much split up over the top of this climb.
Well, the bunch itself has shown signs of weakness, and there's proof of the pudding, Paul, because the back of the race here, the riders are beginning to drop off the back. That was Christopher Stockberger of the USA National Development Team, who looked to be finding the pace a little bit tough, as his more experienced counterparts from the USA stamp on the pedals at the front. There's Leipheimer in the yellow jersey. He knows all about these roads. He's probably spent thousands of hours training on them.
As Bob was just pointing out to me, the man right in the middle there is Ivan Basso, the winner last year of the 2006 Giro d'Italia. He's doing a lot of work for the team. It's his first competition, Bob, isn't it, since July of last year, and he seems to be enjoying himself.
It's been a long time since he raced. Fresh legs and putting some authority on the pedals there, stretching out the group, riders getting dropped off the back. This is a tough little climb before the run into Santa Rosa. Very testing course for the athletes today.
Yeah, the summit of this climb, Phil, is around about 30 miles to go to the finish. I still think we'll end up with a main field coming into town, and then they will face 3 laps of the city of Santa Rosa, and that, I think, will make for a very exciting finish.
Yes, and it should, in theory, be a big bunch sprint, but they may have other ideas here. That will favour, I think, Leipheimer, because the sprinters didn't do so well in the time trial yesterday, so they'll take a small 10-second time bonus if they win, but they won't close the gap to that yellow jersey he proudly wears. And he wants to wear it when he gets down to Santa Rosa because he lives there. And the field, you can tell by the USA flag there just how strong this wind is. As they twist and turn now, they're going to pick it up behind them a little bit. And if anything, this hill, not as steep as Mount Tom earlier, but because it's totally exposed to the elements, this might be a tougher climb.
I think it's a much steeper climb as well. You can see climbing away from the Pacific Ocean behind. The man struggling at the back here is Brian Sheedy of the Priority Health Team. You get an idea just how difficult it is at the back end of a field which is dominated at the front end by the 9 professional tour, the 9 Pro Tour teams.
Well, there's some beautiful views today. The rides themselves have never had a chance to avail themselves. Remember, it's President's Day, a national holiday, so there's been plenty of spectators where there has been possible to have spectators. It's a little bit quiet up here on the top of the hill. Plenty of cars down there. Peter Rollock sitting at the back there, the Austrian rider, and looks as though he might be in a bit of trouble. Just look at that wind. If they decide to really turn the screw tighter at the front, they could well break this field up here. There's Rollich as he now tries to hang on. A little bit surprised he's being unhooked, though. He's a pretty good bike rider.
Well, he's actually a pretty good sprinter, I think, in the early part of the year, Bob. Like most of the sprinters, he hasn't yet got his climbing legs. Probably a bit surprised by just how difficult this first stage out on the open road is.
It's very windy, crosswind, exposed here at the top of the climb, and that'll be very tough, very difficult to find the wheel. There's Tony Cruz on the back, just monitoring things for the Discovery team. It'll be his job to keep Levi Leipheimer out of trouble once the peloton gets back down to Santa Rosa and the very dangerous 3 circuits before the finish line.
Another big sprinter, Phil, suffering at the back on this climb is Charles Dion there of the Colavita team. He would like to try and just get over the summit of this climb because he's the kind of rider who could come up with a good win down towards the end, but there's already a group of 15 or 20 riders being tailed off because of not only the severity of the climb, but also the wind.
Well, it looks here too, Tony Cruz, who was at the front this morning. There he is now, struggling a little bit at the back, but he was riding very well in defence of Leipheimer for the first hour and a half of racing today. Little bit of picture breakup. That's caused by what we call the live links going up to the helicopter over the riders. It's not your television, so don't adjust your set. We'll hang on to the pictures because the scenery, I have to say, today is absolutely stunning. We're racing through paradise, I think.
Yeah, Bob knows these roads pretty much. Used to come down here training in the old days, didn't you, Bob, with 7-Eleven and Motorola? You must have been over a couple of climbs like this.
I can always remember climbing this particular hill and having Andy Hampston accelerate with guys like Steve Bauer and Phil Anderson and the rest of us sitting on the back in a lot of trouble.
Now, looking down from the helicopter, they're just about to cross over the King of the Mountains, which is a separate competition. The first 5 riders get points. And, of course, the man with the highest number of points at the end of the day gets to wear the leader's jersey in that competition tomorrow. and will establish a lead as they go through. I think the line just off to the left. Not too sure exactly where the line is from this height, but it looks as though 4 riders have worked their way off the front of the group here, led by Rabobank. I wonder if that's Michael Rasmussen.
Well, they've seen the possibility of a little bit of a freedom ride here as they move up to the front. I would think that is Jurgen van der Walle from Quickstep. He was the man who got the points on the first King of the Mountains classification, and he will be trying to get himself a few more points here, but they've actually opened up a pretty serious gap, and you can see the reaction already by the main field. Earlier on, you could see the main field bunched across the road. Now, when they're stretched out in a big long line like that, Bob, that's an indication that the hammer's down.
Serious pressure here. It's a long run into Santa Rosa. We'll probably see quite a bit of regrouping, but for the moment, some desperate men trying to get back on terms with the front group.
If you're feeling weak, these are the horrible times of being a professional cyclist. You're on the defensive, and once you're over the top, you've got to close the gap quickly and get back into the heart of the peloton. That's the big pack, because if you don't get in quickly, they simply ride away from you.
That's the important thing, but the difficult thing on a climb like this is once you go over the summit, there's no respite for a little while because there's a fair amount of undulations. There's no real descent straight away from the summit of this climb, and with this big crosswind, it's going to make it much more difficult for the guys who've been left behind to get back up to the group or even get back up to the leaders.
65 miles covered of the 97 miles on today's stage. The last few miles of the day will be 3 laps around the center of Santa Rosa. These 4 boys are just trying to get there, and it is Jurgen van der Walle, the rider at the back, so he'll probably be the next leader in the King of the Mountains competition when we get down to the finish. And with him too, Adam Hansen looks as though he's got into the Australian. He's sitting at the back here for T-Mobile. A little break, trying to get clear as we head down towards the finish. We're inside, 30 miles to go. We'll see you soon. Looking down here as the gap for the leaders now, and Thomas Peterson on the front of the 2 survivors. The other 2 have realised in this 4-man breakaway the peloton are snapping at the back wheel. Peterson, though, has done enough today with his 2 second places on the climbs to become the next leader in the Tour of California Tourism, Travel and Tourism, King of the Mountains. There's the other 2. Hansen dropping back there with Eltrink as they wait for the peloton to pick them up. It was inevitable, I think.
Well, I think when you've got a team like Team Discovery Channel on the front end of the main field coming down to the last few miles of a race like this, the real serious professionals know the gap is going to be closed down. I think that's why those 2 riders decided to save a little bit of energy, because once we actually get into Santa Rosa, the pace is going to go up awfully.
These 2 riders here, first and second now in the King of the Mountains competition. De Walle on the left and Peterson of Team Slipstream. They've had a dream start to this race, Team Slipstream, the new team on the block, which is managed by Jonathan Vaughters, the former Tour de France rider, now in retirement. Yesterday getting second place and almost the win in the prologue time trial. And they are now looking for a leader tomorrow in the King of the Mountains competition, which they've got. All of the riders on the front are the teammates, the helpers, we call them the domestiques, of Levi Leipheimer, who sits last man of the team in that long line at the front, hopefully being led down to the finish where he will keep his lead by the end of the day. But when you've only got a 1-second lead, Paul, nothing is certain.
Well, you don't take any risks at all. I did notice, although Bob doesn't actually believe that Team Discovery Channel are going to go for the sprint today, I noticed the 2 sprinters were not riding in that line of riders at the front, and Alan Davis and George Hincapie were riding behind Levi Leipheimer. Maybe they want to take everything out of this race this year.
They would do well to get a stage win here early. Levi Leipheimer already delivering big on the goods. I know Levi personally would love to keep the jersey when he gets to the streets of his hometown of Santa Rosa, California. In just a couple of miles, they're right on the outskirts of town. 3 laps, pretty dangerous, and when the sprinters start to lock horns, bump elbows, and do the headbutting there before the finishing line, anything can happen. That's why Levi needs to stay right in the front. So if there is a gap in the peloton, he's in the front, and you don't want to get tailed off before 3 kilometers to go, or you could lose time.
Interesting to see that those 2 riders, despite the fact that they sat up here, the peloton taking a little while to haul them in. It's the old trick. They don't really want to bring everybody back into that big field because they know when they do, other riders will start to launch attack. But anyway, Thomas Peterson's looked over his shoulder. Time for a drink. Brand new bottle of water by the look of it, as he now goes back into that main field. We're not far away from passing through the finish line of the day, but when we do, there's 3 circuits of Santa Rosa of 3 miles a lap before we finally roll to a halt.
I think the main field realised there, Phil, they've got it pretty much under control. They will start to line it out again, though, once we get into the streets of Santa Rosa, because that actually makes it, strangely enough, just a little bit safer.
It's always a horrible sight, I think, Bob, when you've been in a breakaway, and these boys have been in this breakaway for nearly 20 miles now, then you look over your shoulder, as they both have just done, and there they all are.
They might have been getting some of your commentary into their earpiece from the team car. Right when you said that, they looked over the shoulder, and that is a very discouraging sight when the whole peloton is breathing down your neck.
Well, what a magnificent opening full road race stage today to the Amgen Tour of California. The police have done a great job. These roads totally closed as we've come down the beautiful Pacific Coast Highway today, and all of its ups and downs as the riders now are heading into downtown Santa Rosa. There's a huge crowd waiting to welcome them through the finishing line, but don't forget, we go through there, then we've got 3 full laps of the city before we roll to a halt. And don't forget either, we're watching the Amgen Tour of California. Coverage will continue tomorrow at 10 Eastern here on Versus, the home of the Tour de France, of course. And that, by the way, will be with you in July. And with everybody now back together again, this is the peloton on the streets of Santa Rosa. And a change at the front now, because it's the pink jerseys of T-Mobile who are trying to get their man, their new sprinter, Greg Henderson, into this race.
Well, Greg Henderson moving across this year to a very big team, T-Mobile. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders to try and come up with a win. That's why the pink guard, the T-Mobile squad, have come right to the front end of the main field. And what they want to do now is make sure that there's a big crash right in the middle.
Well, that is an horrendous crash. The riders went far too wide on the bend, right on the finishing line with 6 miles to go to the finish. As the riders have gone down there, we'll try to pick them out for it. But there's a massive pileup.
Phil, that crash was in a straight line. It was right in the middle of the road. There was no corners. I don't know what happened at all there, but there are riders blocking the main field. Bob, very rarely have I seen anything like that.
Very near to the front of the peloton, a couple of guys crossing wheels and a huge pileup. And I think we might see some of our race favorites for the GC and the stage caught up in that crash.
Well, let's see if we can have another look at this, Bob. Just keep your eyes to the left of our picture here. Because we would have expected all this, and it was right on the front of the peloton, which is the worst possible place, because that is where the favorites would have been sitting.
Well, I hope a lot of them were sitting over to the right-hand side. I can see 1 or 2 riders trying to get themselves around there. I noticed Bobby Julich and, of course, world champion Paolo Bettini missed that crash.
Well, get back into the action now. We'll update you as we know ourselves what has exactly happened there, but that was a real serious crash, and that will have disrupted the sprinters too, as the teams now try to reorganize. Gone from the front is the big long line of the pink riders from T-Mobile. Other teams have seen their chance to break in here. You're right, Paul, the world champion in his white jersey, Paolo Bettini, he was to the left of the fall, because I reckon he was planning an attack.
Well, he was waiting. We've got to look and see if we can spot where the yellow jersey is in this group, and that would be on the shoulders of Levi Leipheimer. He was pretty close to the front end of the main field. There's a T-Mobile rider gone down there very hard indeed. These riders are now getting up. You can see the little bit of chaos as the mechanics try to get their new wheels in. We would certainly like to see if we could spot the yellow jersey. I'm sure he will have been there, Phil, because he was riding pretty much at the front end of the main field.
One of the riders down was Rory Sutherland. He sits in 4th place overall, and he will lose time because those riders who fell, the clock now works against them. They are 6 miles out from the finish, as we're seeing the leader here setting the pace, as he was earlier, Jakob Peel, and he's still setting the pace, which indicates to us that his sprinter, Greg Henderson, is probably still safely in the pack.
Well, Henderson was riding about 4th or 5th in the line of a lot of T-Mobile riders. Bob, when you come to a finishing circuit like this, there is really only one place to be for safety. You've got to ride in the first 10 or 15 places.
And you can see what small group it is. It's been reduced tremendously because of that big crash, covering the road right at the front. Maybe only 30 or 40 riders still left in the front group. That is an incredible turn of events in the Amgen Tour of California. And there's the chasers just coming around that last corner, trying to close the gap here to our leaders now, led by Jakob Peel of the T-Mobile squad.
Well, that's Bobby Julich just over on the left-hand side in the black, red and white jersey of Team CSC, so he avoided that crash. We are still trying to spot whether or not Levi Leipheimer is in this group. He's a serious professional, Phil. He's a very experienced bike rider. He knows these roads. I'm certain he will be in there somewhere, but for the moment, I haven't seen him.
No, and we'll keep a sharp eye, and you do too back at home. He wears that yellow jersey. He'll stand out when he comes to the front. He's certainly not riding near the front. That crash happened in the worst possible place. It happened amongst the leaders of the race, and that's not normally where riders fall, so somebody made a mistake. It's Leonardo Scarzelli, the Italian, who's leading them at the moment. He rides on the Belgian Quick-Step team, as they try to draw this out, because, of course, the boys that have stayed upright will keep the pressure on now. They want nobody behind to catch up.
One thing that worries me about the presence of Levi Leipheimer, Bob, I cannot see any riders from Discovery Channel team here near the front, so it may well be that Levi Leipheimer has disappeared. Looking around there to see whether or not we can see him. There he is, but we don't know which camera this is. This could well be further back. I think he may well have missed it.
He is behind. This is the second camera here who's picked up Levi Leipheimer, so whether he fell or not, and I don't think he did, but he has been delayed by the crash. In fact, I think he did fall. Look at his leg. He's got a scar there on his leg.
Well, that is bad news for the man from Santa Rosa. You can see the rear of his shorts is also ripped up, and he's there with George Hincapie right in front of him as well. It's going to be very difficult. Another teammate up there as well. That looks like Ivan Basso. But, Bob, when the main field is riding along at 35 miles an hour, it's really hard to come back.
An absolute disaster for Levi Leipheimer and the Discovery riders. Right there in front where they're needed to be. Generally, crashes don't happen there, and it's quite a big gap back to Levi's group. What an unbelievable turn of events. And here's the chasers trying to close down to the leaders.
That 1 second margin now very frail. Now the little kite flashing around in the middle of the Maxis Bridge there is indeed 1 kilometre to go, just over half a mile, but that's in a lap's time. These boys still have another circuit to do yet, and they know now they've got the race leader off the back of the race, and his team there trying to drag him back up to these leaders. He must reach the leaders.
There's going to be 2 races now, Phil, over the final lap. It's going to be the race for this man, Levi Leipheimer, to try and make contact with the leading group. There's a car in front. That will be one of the cars of the race referee, so he may well be not too far off the back end of the main field. The front end of the race is thinking about winning the stage, and when they cross the line, they've got 2.9 miles to go, or in European language, about 5 kilometres.
Well, Scott Selly still drives this for his team, Quick Step, as they're trying to stay clear of the race. Now the adrenaline will be coursing through the veins of Leipheimer. This was his big moment. He's in his hometown. He wanted to stay in the yellow jersey. His 1 second is through the window now. His only chance of keeping his lead. He's got to rejoin this front group, and look at them go.
Well, they're not slowing down at all for this man. This happened in the most crucial part of the race. I'm trying to see. There's Graham Brown, the Rabobank rider. He's a good candidate for victory here this afternoon. He likes a little bit of a crazy finish, but this is not a very big group at all.
Well, this is it now, the bell, 3 miles from the finish. The field is only half of the main field that started these circuits now. Still, it's the Quick Step team from Belgium driving on. We can't ascertain just who is left in this field, but I also don't see in this field either, and that's Jason Donald, the automatic man who would move into yellow if he finished with this leading group. I don't see him there either.
Well, that's going to make it very complicated to figure out who is going to be the overall leader this afternoon, but look at that pink train at the front. They've certainly not missed out here this afternoon, because nearly all of the T-Mobile riders are there, and of course nearly all of the riders from Team CSC are pretty much present as well.
Quick Step there for Bettini. They're doing the lead out, and Greg Henderson must have avoided that crash. He is still up in the front with his teammates from T-Mobile, but you can see Paolo Bettini in the rainbow jersey. Here's Levi Leipheimer still trying to chase. He is a ways down. He hasn't crossed the start-finish line yet, and they haven't caught the leaders.
Well, Bob, I have an unofficial time check for you here on Levi Leipheimer. Phil, 55 seconds is the time that he's behind. The man was battling a few moments ago for a 1 second lead in the overall classification. Now he's losing himself almost a minute, and maybe the Amgen Tour of California as well.
Well, it's not the first time that Paul Levi's been involved in a big crash towards the end of a stage race. It happened in the Tour de France. His injuries then were very serious. He recovered from those, but here we go again now. It's deja vu as it was yesterday when he won the prologue, the same prologue he won a year ago. But now he's fighting just to stay in the race lead, and I don't think he's going to recover to it today.
Well, it's looking tough at the front. I just saw one of the riders making a little signal with his hand there from Quick Step. He wanted to swing off the front. It's getting very tough indeed. I don't think Jason Donald is in this group. I haven't seen his lime green jersey as the leader of the points classification, so it's going to be tough to figure out. Let's not forget Jean-Jacques Maine. Benjamin Jack Maine should be up there. He's in 3rd place at the start of the day. Rory Sutherland was 4th. Fabian Cancellara was 5th. So it could be any of those guys who'll run out the overall leader this afternoon. But it's going to be a mad dash for the line for the win.
Big tempo being done by the Quick Step team, still on the front. I tell you, Paolo Bettini has lit it up. He did that in the World Championship just a few months ago to earn those rainbow stripes. He's got a fantastic sprint in the line, and there he is, about 10 riders back. Matteo Tessado will be the last man in the blue team before he leads out his leader, and that would be Paolo Bettini in the white jersey with the rainbow stripes as world champion.
Well, one thing's for sure, Paul, there's a lot of sprinters here now who will feel this could be the moment, the way this race. The Rabobank are moving up on the left of our picture. They have a great finisher in Graham Brown of Australia.
Well, Brownie hasn't had a win so far this year, but he's a man who enjoys this kind of finish. Little bit complicated. You've got to fight to stay near the front. No holes barred in a sprint like this. Over to the left-hand side is Graham Brown. His Rabobank men are getting him lined up for the finish, and they're going to try and get themselves organized. When you slow down like this in a sprint, it starts to get a little bit crazy.
Crazy's the word, Bob. I wouldn't want to be in this right now because these boys all want to win this opening road race of the Tour of California. We'll be shortly under that bridge again, leaving them just over half a mile to go. Jakob Peel is doing a terrific job for T-Mobile.
I saw a Predictor Lotto jersey up here at the front as well, so maybe Freddie Rodriguez managed to miss that accident that happened just a lap and a half ago. So now the chaos. Now's the moment where you have to be brave. Levi Leipheimer still trying to get himself back into this race. This is the man who leads overall. Looking at his hand there, he obviously went down pretty hard in that crash.
Well, there'll be a lot of questions in the house about that when the way the riders fell so near the front. It happened in the second or third ranking at the front of the peloton. It doesn't normally happen there, and on a straight stretch of road as well. But they are out of it for today because they can't reach these riders now. They're pedaling at 35, 36 miles an hour, and they believe, especially the boys in pink, that Greg Henderson will deliver the day for them.
Look at them now starting to lift it up. The way you try and win a sprint is you get your team lined out on the front. Each rider then does as much as he can before swinging off. If the recipe works out correctly, your sprinter goes to the front with a mere 200 meters to go. Turning now alongside the highway. They're trying to straighten themselves up. They will shortly be coming to the final kilometer.
You can see Tor Hushovd in the green jersey there of Credit Agricole moving into position now. Pellizotti there, maybe leading out his man DeLuca. 1 kilometer to go, just a couple of corners before the finish line. Big Jens Voigt, he'll be taking J.J. Hayedo to the line.
Well, just look at this now. J.J. Hayedo won this stage last year. We didn't know about him then, but the reason after he won, he was promoted onto this Pro Tour team. This is the rider who won the Tour of Germany last year, but really, he is an incredible helper. He can take the bike race up to 40 miles an hour and try and lead his team out for the win. And that's what Jens Voigt is doing. He's carrying his German rivals here. T-Mobile right behind him, are looking to bring Greg Henderson to the line. Look at the way they stretched out now as Hayedo is trying to move up in the rankings. Graham Brown is second wheel and switched out of it a little bit. He drops into third place. Brownie himself is trying to land this one as well for Australia and Rabobank. They'll come under the tunnel and then they'll head in towards the finish. The speed of everybody. Brownie swings over to the right of the road. Tor Hushovd is trying to get over to the left. The man who won the green jersey in the Tour de France 2 years ago now. As they race for the line, Graham Brown is going to try and take this one out. And it's between Brown and Henderson. It'll go to the photo. Nobody's saluting. But it looks to me as though it might be Graham Brown.
Well, it looks as if Graham Brown may well just have got it in the middle there, but there was a last-minute burst coming to the front there by Alan Davis from Discovery Channel over on the right-hand side. Brownie just happens to be wearing number 13, so maybe today it's going to be lucky for him. He is a man who was a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in 2004 at the Athens Olympic on the track. And if he did get the win there, Phil, I don't think any of these riders are quite certain whether or not they got across the line in first place. It was that close.
Well, this is a sad sight, though, here, because this is the arrival. The clock has started counting. The 1 second disappeared ages ago now. Levi Leipheimer, on the moment he comes into his hometown, will be out of the yellow jersey. Exactly where it's going, I can't tell you, because we don't actually know who survived that crash and who is in the front group. We'll find out very shortly, but here he comes, and the clock is counting him right out of the top 20 riders in this race for sure. As they race up to the line to a big round of applause here. Leipheimer is home, and they can take a break now, but I'm afraid he is out of the race lead.
Well, that's a massive shame for the man who lives here in Santa Rosa. He's crossed the line. He's saved himself a little bit, but I reckon he's lost himself at least 35 to 40 seconds, Phil, because of that crash. And it's very strange for it to happen so close to the front of the main field.
Well, you can see the damage on his shorts. George Hincapie there did his best for him, his teammate. Let's have a look now as they come home. This is the sprint finish, and what a close sprint. I'm not sure whether we can tell. Keep watching the front wheel here. A shoulder-to-shoulder battle. Graham Brown nearest camera. taking, you know, I think it's Brownie, but it's not easy. Greg Henderson is very close.
Greg Henderson is the rider on the right-hand side in the pink jersey, lunging at the line. Alan Davis over on the left-hand side for Discovery Channel. It looks like the Aussies were definitely in first 3 places.
And the Kiwis.
And there's the confirmation there, because I think Henderson is going to offer him. Let's have a look at it this angle, because here we will get a chance to see the victory just goes to Graham Brown in the middle.
So Graham Brown gets the first victory on the open road and his first win of 2007 against Greg Henderson of New Zealand, Alan Davis of Australia, and Discovery. He gets third. What a race finish that was. Chaos and carnage on the finishing circuit here in Santa Rosa in the Amgen Tour of California. Rider error takes out half of the field on the left of the road. With it goes down the yellow jersey, Levi Leipheimer, and other big names like David Zabriskie. Well, just who now leads the Tour of California? We know the stage winner. When we come back, we will reveal all. We'll tell you the new leader of the Tour of California. And what an end it's been to the first full day of road racing in the Amgen Tour of California right here in downtown Santa Rosa. We've seen crashes, we've seen sprint finishes. Let's look at the Health Net move of the day. It was the shoulder-to-shoulder battle between Greg Henderson and Graham Brown nearest camera. And the camera doesn't lie. Brown takes it on the line from the Kiwi, while Alan Davis, another Australian, takes third. First to congratulate Brown is Greg Henderson, and that's our Health Net move of the day. Let's have a look now at the standings. Graham Brown gets it, everybody the same time over Henderson and Davis. Torhushoff, the champion of France in the Tour de France a year ago, he gets 4th. Fast Freddy gets 5th. A little bit further down, Stuart O'Grady over the line in 6th. Last year's winner here was Haido. He gets 8th this time. Let's have a look who is the new leader of the Tour. Well, it's not a new leader at all. It's the same man, because the race referees have taken the unusual decision to neutralize the circuits and say everybody today has been given the same time. Well, I think they've taken advantage. The rules are perfectly clear. They shouldn't have neutralized them, but they get the priority. And this man gets the cheers from the crowd here in Santa Rosa because he lives here. Levi Leipheimer keeps his 1 second lead overall, and we can look at that right now. He still leads this race by that 1 second over Jason Donald, who, by the way, was also involved in that crash. Fabian Cancellara is 4th. George Hincapie today comes up from 9th into 5th place, just 6 seconds behind. Adam Hansen slips only slightly. Further down, Michael Rogers completes the top 10 in the notables. Sadly, the name missing here of David Zabriskie. He got a head injury in that crash, unlikely to start tomorrow. Let's join Bob Roll now as he talks to Levi Leipheimer.
You know, it's a spectacular day again for me to come into the Santa Rosa with the lead and defend it, and you know, I'm just taking it day by day, but today was another, you know, career moment for me.
All right, Levi, congratulations. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Down, but certainly not out. The race tomorrow will move on as we race through the mountains and then drop down to sea level for the finish in Sacramento. And don't forget, you can join us right here on Versus for that second stage. It's 116 miles. Our coverage continues at 10 Eastern. Don't forget, we're the channel who is the home of the Tour de France. And tomorrow, Levi Leipheimer will again ride the race in yellow. And congratulations to him today. Well, it's been a terrific race today. The boys did ride extremely hard, but it's been dotted by crashes all the way to the finishing line. But at the end of the day, there was no change in the overall standings, despite this horrific-looking crash. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. For Bob Roll, Paul Sherwin, Phil Liggett saying goodbye for now.